Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on families and households, looking at the work of Zaretsky on the family. In our previous video, we looked at the work of several Marxist sociologists on the role of the family. In this video, we're going to look at the work of another Marxist, Eli Zaretsky, whose book Capitalism and the Family and Personal Life is a key text on the GCSE specification and incredibly relevant to the A-level specification. Zaretsky examined the relationship between capitalism and the family in the modern era, noting that the family had changed from being a unit of production to a unit of consumption. He also suggested, in a not too dissimilar way to Parsons' warm bath theory, that the family was a safe haven for the worker, cushioning the blow of the alienating effects of capitalism. Zaretsky also suggested that the family props up capitalism, and that the need to provide for one's family was a key reason why workers do not revolt and overthrow the capitalist system. In this video, we're going to take a look at Zaretsky's ideas in a bit more detail. Firstly, let's examine the idea that the family is a unit of consumption. As we've seen with our research of Wilmot and Young, the pre-industrial, and to a lesser extent the early industrial era, saw the family as a unit of production. All family members were engaged in activities which benefited the family's resources, producing goods for their own consumption through agriculture or through trading products made to gain other goods. However, in the industrial era, the process of urbanisation, moving into the towns and cities, meant that many families were unable to grow their own food or keep livestock, and so they needed to gain employment in order to purchase the goods that they needed. They would exchange their labour for wages, and those wages would then allow them to purchase food, clothing and shelter, which shifted the emphasis on the family as being producers to being consumers. This also shifted their economic situation from being self-determined to being dependent upon the ruling class. In contemporary society, families are rarely involved in the production of goods, and most likely to be consumers. If we consider that the goods we have are a result of being purchased, our food, clothing, technological products and home furnishings are not made through our own labour, but rather purchased with the wages we earn from that labour. Another feature of capitalism is driving needs, and we are more likely to want to have the latest products if people close to us have them as well. Some refer to this idea as keeping up with the Joneses, wanting to make sure we have the same goods and services as others around us. This props up capitalism according to Zaretsky, as does another concept linked with childhood, the idea of pester power. Children wanting the toys and games and latest clothes that their friends have, generating false needs that benefit capitalism. We can also suggest that since the early industrial era, children have moved from being an economic asset, when they contributed to the family's income through their labour, to being an economic liability, with children being active consumers, yet not contributing to the family's economic situation. Another concept Zaretsky outlined was the idea that the family had a psychological function of alleviating the stresses of workers. Employment, particularly in the modern era, was labour intensive, and for many workers they were left feeling alienated by their employment. This was unfulfilling because workers did not see the results of their labour, particularly in things like manufacturing. Zaretsky suggested that the home provided a cushioning blow from the effects of capitalism. Workers could come home and feel free from the psychological impacts of work, and this would leave them feeling refreshed and replenished to go back to work the next day. However, far from seeing this as a positive, Zaretsky suggested that this served the needs of capitalism, as it allowed for workers to release some of the tensions they built up during the day once they were at home. It is this situation that acted as the motivation for Marxist feminist Fran Ansley's memorable quote on the role of women in the family. Home therefore becomes a place where tensions can be released by the male, and this doesn't account for the potential negative impacts on the rest of the family. Zaretsky suggested that releasing tensions in the home is not sufficient, and does not absorb the alienation that workers feel, something that was echoed by Hochschild many years later. Zaretsky's idea of the family being a safe haven can be directly compared to the ideas of Parsons, although while Parsons' view is seen through rose-tinted glasses as an idealistic portrayal of family life, Zaretsky's view is a little darker and demonstrates the frustrations of workers employed in the capitalist system. Zaretsky also highlighted the unpaid labour that is undertaken by women within the capitalist system, particularly in the home. Domestic labour is largely unpaid, as is the role of being a parent, something echoed by Delphi and Leonard. However, Zaretsky suggests that this unpaid labour serves the needs of capitalism because it allows workers to focus on the task in hand. Furthermore, the family reproduces the next generation of society, which, once socialised into the norms and values of capitalist society, will become docile and obedient workers who will go on to form their own families. Zaretsky suggests this props up capitalism because these workers then consume, feeding the profits of the ruling class who continue to exploit other workers by extracting further labour from them in return for wages, which is then spent on more goods. Zaretsky saw this as a cycle that continues, and the family stops workers from rebelling as they are socialised into personal responsibility for their family, controlling their actions and curtailing their ability to revolt. The need to provide for families and the fear of the consequences of withholding their labour to get higher wages and the prospect of unemployment meant that the bourgeoisie could control wage levels and extract more work for less pay from their employees. Furthermore, demands for better working conditions are often left unanswered, as the bourgeoisie know they can replace the workers easily, particularly in times of high unemployment. Workers are too afraid to leave their family wanting, and will be motivated by this to work longer hours for less pay in order to fulfil their duties to the family. However, there are criticisms of Zaretsky's ideas. There is too much focus on the economic functions of the family. Critics would question this, suggesting there are alternative reasons why people decide to have children and form families. However, Zaretsky's ideas on the family being a unit of consumption can be proved correct, particularly in contemporary society. The growth of children's markets and the increase in spending and personal debt to acquire home entertainment provides evidence of Zaretsky's ideas that the family props up the profits of capitalism. However, feminists would criticise Zaretsky for not focusing on the role of women within the family. The idea that the family is a safe haven does not reflect the role of females in absorbing the anger of the frustrated worker, nor does it go far enough in criticising the role of women's unpaid labour, effectively making them the slaves of wage slaves. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on families and households, looking at Zaretsky's work on the family. Thanks for watching.